Hello, well, welcome to Breakthrough Blueprint. And today I got a WhatsApp message, and it reads Brahmacharya is a Sanskrit term that translates to behavior that leads to Brahman, Brahman being God, or walking in God consciousness. In yogic and Hindu philosophies, it is the fourth of the yamas, moral restraints, and is best understood as the mindful conservation and right use of energy. While the concept is commonly associated with strict celibacy, its modern and broader spiritual practice encompasses a holistic approach to life. The real meaning, energy management, instead of viewing it purely as sexual repression, yogic philosophy defines Brahmacharya as the intelligent management of your life force energy, prana. It involves directing your focus and vitality towards spiritual growth, inner peace, and higher aims, rather than draining your reserves on fleeting external pleasures or sensory addictions. Moderation, and number two is moderation over depletion. The philosophy encourages you to evaluate how you expend your daily energy. It advises moderation in all sensory experiences, including overtalking, excessive social media consumption, overeating, and overworking, to avoid burnout and sensory overwhelm. 3. Brahmacharya in different stages of life. In Vedic tradition, Brahmacharya refers to the first of the 4 ashramas, stages of life, which is a period of the student. During this time, a young person's primary duty is to remain celibate and dedicate all their energy to study, learning, and self-discipline. How to practice it in daily life. You can apply the principles of Brahmacharya to modern living by making a few mindful changes. Conserve your vitality, recognize what tasks or relationships drain your energy, and learn to set boundaries. Cultivate balance, apply the path of restraint, ensuring that sensory cravings do not control your actions. Practice moderation. Eat wholesome, simple foods, sattvic diet. To keep the body and mind calm and balanced, redirect focus, channel your energy into spiritual practices like meditation, japa, which is repetition of mantras, or self-reflection to turn the mind inward. To explore the deeper spiritual layers of this practice, read more in the Yoga International Guide to Restraint, or explore how to channel your energy off the mat with Yoga East's perspective on energy use. That's a lot to take in, and I've been thinking about that for most of the day, every now and then. And so my view on that, see, I'm a tantric, and I understand where this person is coming from, in that sexual energy shouldn't be wasted. And I totally agree. With that person. That sexual energy should not be wasted. So I'm tantric, which means I don't lose energy when I make love. The way I view lovemaking is that I am. I see it as more of an energy generating activity. So I use it to generate activity rather than to lose energy. So I see it in the same way I would see yoga or breathwork or running, or any of those activities that generate energy. So for me, I use lovemaking, one, obviously to connect with the other person, and two, I see it as a yogic practice, in that it increases my energies in my body. And so the next challenge for me personally is then, how do I use that energy, redirect that energy to increase the quality of my life? So one of the things I have in my head is that any spiritual practices, if they do not improve the quality of your life, then they're just BS. They're just mental masturbation, I'm going to call it. So they should improve the quality of your daily life outside, in terms of how you are being, what you can achieve in the real world, I'm going to call it, and your how successful you are at hitting your goals and targets and things like that in the real world. And so for me, spiritual practices are done with the intention that they will make me more effective in the real world out there in terms of being able to hit my targets, my goals, be more successful in everything I do. Do you know, that's where I come from in terms of that. So for me, what I do is all of spiritual practice from that angle, that there has to be return on investment. Do you know, so if I do 2 hours of yoga a day, or 2 hours of meditation a day, or whatever the practice is, or breath work, or whatever, I'm expecting a return on investment. And I personally, from my own personal experiences, the return on investment on doing yoga, meditation, breath work, all those kind of spiritual practice, I think is huge. You know, I think it's the biggest, for me personally, I think it's the thing that gives me the biggest leverage. So the main reason I do all these spiritual practice on a daily basis, and I'm trying to increase it, is because of the return on investment. That's it. You know, like it's huge. I think anyway. But the returns only really kick in when you take it seriously. If you're doing 7 minutes a week or whatever, or you know, you're not taking it seriously, then I don't think there's any return. Or if there is, it's too small to be meaningful. So it has to. So you have to be doing it, I think, like as if it was your job, like somebody was paying you. Somebody's paying you lots of money to do some tasks or whatever it is. I think you need to take it that seriously, and that's how seriously I take it, or I'm trying to take it. So in terms of this conservation of energy, I don't agree with that. I think I totally disagree with that. I think the more energy you expand, the more energy you have. In the same way, like exercise, right? So the more energy, like an athlete. You know, an athlete trains, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day, and they have tons of energy, right? And they have loads and loads of energy. It's because I think the more energy you expand, the more you use. I believe more in the concept, use it or lose it. So if you're trying to conserve your brain power, you're going to end up lowering your brain power. So you have to, I think, every day you have to maximize the amount of brain power you use every day. I'll give you an example. I do Vipassana, right? Vipassana, I've done like 5 now. I do almost 1 a year. And with Vipassana, on the first day, I'm exhausted. You know, Vipassana is like you're doing 10, 12 hours of meditation. And it's hard meditation as well. It's not easy meditation. And I remember every single time I go to Vipassana, by the end of the first day, I'm exhausted. It feels like I've run like a dozen marathons in my head, and that's how exhausted I am. And I can feel in my brain when I'm doing the meditation on the first day, it feels like there's not enough energy coming through to my brain to do the meditation. It's like there's a lack of energy, you know, or there's a lack of my brain being able to use that resource. But the next day, what I find is that my brain comes back stronger the next day. So the next day, I don't get as tired, even though I'm still doing 10, 12 hours of meditation. And then the day after, I'm less tired, because what has happened is on the first day, I've exhausted my brain out on the meditation. And so the next day, it upgrades itself. And so then that allows me to carry on. And I notice the same thing when I exercise. If I go for a run, I find I have more energy that day. You know, like it's not like less. So I think this conservation of energy, I think for me, it's not about conservation of energy. It's in terms of this Brahmacharya, God consciousness. The way I look at this Brahmacharya and God consciousness is being conscious. You know, so if I'm doing things unconsciously, and if my mind is wandering unconsciously, blah, 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 I think that is wrong. Or not wrong, I think that is bad. You know, so I think So what I try to do, and I try to remember as much as I can, or if when I catch myself out where my mind wanders, I bring it back. Do you know, it doesn't matter what I'm doing, I'll bring my mind back. Even if I'm walking or on the train or whatever, I'll bring it back. And I think for me, Brahmacharya, God consciousness, is trying to spend every moment being conscious. Or the other word I use for it is meditation. So my meaning for meditation is being fully present and being fully conscious in the moment at all times, and not allowing the mind to wander into the past or the future or wherever it wants to go. So I think I practice Brahmacharya. So this is really good, which she sent me, is I practice Brahmacharya, like I'm trying to practice Brahmacharya from morning to night, from morning to the time I go to bed. So for me, when I do lovemaking, I'm practicing Brahmacharya because I'm trying to, it's the same as exercise, you know, I'm trying to increase my energy levels in my body. The problem I've got at the moment is being able to control those energies, which I'm working on, and obviously I'll get better at that. So, and I agree with the right use of energy, is that you're directing your energies where they need to go, you know, in a conscious way. I think Sadhguru talks about this. He says there's no such thing as good or bad thoughts. They're only conscious thoughts or unconscious thoughts. Conscious thoughts we call thinking. Yeah. Unconscious thoughts is where we allow the mind to wander. The mind's chattering, you know, that's unconscious. And so if you can, so what I try to do is I try not to have thoughts unless it's directed thoughts. I try not to let my mind wander. So that's my thing on Brahmacharya. So yeah, that's which I think is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do Brahmacharya, and this moderation I don't agree with either. Even my diet, I've gone through a lot of pain and suffering to get to the diet I am on now, and it in no way is my diet balanced or moderation or any of that. And I think balance is great for people who want average. Like if you want an average life, an average job, an average income, an average health, average relationships, I think balance is great. Go and do balance if you want to be Mr. Average. But I think if you want to excel in any of those areas, in your health or whatever, I think balance doesn't work, personally. I mean, every experience I've personally had, balance, I'm not into balance. I'm not into moderation. I think the more energy I use in brain power and body, the more I get tomorrow. My bank balance in terms of energy is bigger tomorrow because my brain will upgrade, my body will upgrade to give me more, like an athlete. And I think if you did try to moderate, where you went, well, I'm going to moderate myself, I think what you'll find is that you'll slowly moderate below, lower and lower. Like if you try to moderate, I think moderation, especially in your energy expenditure, I think is a trap, and it will trap you into using less and less and less. There's this thing about staying in the comfort zone. And if you stay in your comfort zone, what will end up happening is you'll shrink more and more. So you always have to expand. You always have to go outside. And I think it's the same. I think for me, an ideal day is where I've used my body and my brain to the max that day. And then the next day, during the night when I sleep, and of course, sleep is insanely important. And at the moment, my sleep isn't as good as it should be. I'm working on that. And then during your sleep, your brain and your body will upgrade. And then the next day, it'll give you a higher capacity. Yeah. And as soon as you start, I'm going to use the word moderation, which is what it talks about here. No, moderation. Give you moderation. And I think, yeah, so that's my take on Brahmacharya. I agree with a lot of it. I agree that you should be trying to live in God consciousness, or meditative state, which is the same as being in control. Is keeping hold. Meditation for me is also means keeping control over your own mind. I think the whole point of life, well, I think the point of our existence or our life, and personal development, is to gain greater and greater control over your own mind. As Gandhi would say, be the change. And I think the best and the most effective way to be the change is to practice every single day, every hour, every minute, in keeping your mind in control. I think that's what, and that, I think that gives you the biggest return on investment. Hands down, I think it beats everything. I mean, sure, yeah, do all the things you need to do during the day, whatever they are, but do it with the mind, while keeping the mind under control. I think that's where it is. Anyway, that's that was my on Brahmacharya. Thank you very much. And if you've got any comments, just leave them below. I will read them and I will respond to them. All right. Thank you very much for listening. All right. Bye.